What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Chad is back for the first time in a long time.
I appreciate being back, brother.
Yeah, man. They liked you for a while, and then they said, bring Chad back, bring Chad back. Chad's back, baby. Anyway, so this is going to be part one of a three-part series explaining how a professional attacks the fresh, transition, and burn on a PBA sport shot compared to an amateur like myself. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because if you don't subscribe, Chad is gonna steal all your bowling balls.
Only if they're Storm, Rotogrip, and Global.
And all the other ones too, because you'll throw them away. All right, so excuse the brief interruption of us talking. We're gonna start throwing shots now on lane 3, and you guys are gonna listen to us talk in the background. And we're just only gonna bowl on lane 3 to try to destroy it as much as possible. You're gonna start in the?
I'm gonna what?
You're gonna start in what ball?
I'm gonna start probably with the fast pitch.
Oh, God. Freaking professionals. I'm gonna start in the Magic Gem, so we'll get back to the desk. So Chad, what pattern are we bowling on?
We are bowling on the Earl Anthony pattern.
Why? Why are we bowling on the Earl Anthony pattern?
So the Earl Anthony pattern, you know what? You're actually the one that chose this pattern, first of all.
Because there's a regional next month, and I might bowl it, and I want to practice on it, and then
Fair enough.
I can't practice because I don't have the time, so we turn it into a video. Yeah.
But it's the Earl Anthony pattern, 43 feet. It's a 1-to-3, I believe, ratio.
3-to-1 rate, a little less than 3-to-1. Yeah.
You know, here in Samstown, we kind of talked a little bit earlier on and stuff. I brought urethane. Generally, any patterns, I generally try to play with urethane afterward go.
For the fresh.
For the fresh,
Yeah. Because today's video, we're only going to be talking about the fresh.
Yep. So generally, I like to try to start with urethane, control shapes. If I can get the ball to go through the pins in the right way, that's generally what I like to start with. And then if that doesn't look good, generally I'll go to something a little stronger or like short pin.
Freaking professionals, man. Because I didn't bring urethane at all. The balls I brought for the fresh are Magic Gem. No, not Summit. Phase 2. Those are the two balls I brought for the fresh. Phase 2. And so my goal for the fresh is to try to keep the ball in front of me. And as an amateur especially, I am going to always try to play the same part of the lane that I would play on a house shot. Because if that's there, that's my logic going in. If that's there, then I have a chance, right?
Yeah, and I mean, technically, if the shot's there, I mean, there's one person in particular, Mr. EJ Tackett. You know, he makes everything look the same,
like
kind of regardless of what pattern it is. So, you know, if it's there and you have that ability to do that, great. Most of us, though, aren't so fortunate. So
no, but it is pretty interesting that you, as a professional, would look at urethane on 43 feet, because to me, where my mind goes is, this pattern's long. This pattern has a lot of volume. Urethane, to me, when Chad brought it up, I said, I would never bring urethane to something like that. So the logic for you is?
So again, it comes back to like surface. It comes down to topography of the lanes. Samstown has a lot of friction built in already to it.
But so does the plaza.
So does the plaza. So, and I think that's why urethane is predominantly used in a lot of patterns. You know, even longer patterns to a certain degree. It may not be very long, but a lot of times it's there to at least start with.
All right, so you know what the rule of 31 is?
So whatever the pattern is, length minus 31, and that's supposed to be your break point.
Yeah, okay, so you doing this kind of tells me everything that I need to know. Is that something that goes into your head at all?
It's a good reference aspect, at least for the amateur side of things.
Well,
for us,
hold on, let's maybe explain it a little bit more.
Sure.
So whatever the pattern length is, less 31
Correct.
is where you want your ball to be at the end of the pattern.
Correct.
So 43 less 31 is 12.
12.
So ideally, you want your bowling ball to be at 12 at 43 feet.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you're going to notice that when we get into the videos and stuff like that, again, with the ratio, with the outside having a little bit more kind of developed shape, you know, type aspect, especially with the urethane, you're going to notice that that doesn't always come into play. So you're going to see guys that out at South Point, you'll see guys that get out the ball to like 5, you know, or maybe even up the gutter, and they're able to play in that zone just because there's enough hold, but yet there's enough friction to still make shape.
That's interesting. Yeah. So like for me, like guys, I bowl one regional a year, and I typically pick and choose. You know, like I'm not going to bowl anything that's like 50 feet long. I'm not going to bowl anything that's like 31 feet. You know, 43 for someone like me who's an amateur, who kind of doesn't really hit the same spot every single time, who doesn't repeat shots at the level of professionals. Something like 43 feet is a good, like, entry-level regional pattern.
Well, and you've bowled at South Point quite a few times, and generally the non-champs tournament, you know, that generally is there and stuff like that. The scoring pace is generally higher. You know, it is a little bit more probably conducive to league type scores to a certain degree, where you have to average 210, 215 to make the cut to get into the next day, or into the finals, I should say. But you might see leaders averaging 230, 240, which is not ungiven either.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so all the prep work that goes into before you even throw your first shot of practice, right? What goes into your decision making for what bowling balls? Because you mentioned urethane, but you know, we have a couple different options in the SPI line. What goes into your decision making for what bowling ball you're going to bring?
The biggest thing is you know, again, going back to topography of the lanes or what house I'm bowling at. I've bowled in multiple different houses, you know, kind of throughout the country and stuff like that. And when I look at certain patterns and stuff like that, obviously I look at the ratios. So this being a 3-to-1 type ratio. 43 feet, yes, it's a little bit longer, but that means that the volume's dispersed across 43 feet versus all loaded up at like 32 feet.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. So even though it's more volume, it's less volume per area type thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, that's where I say that the urethane, you know, potentially can come into play, especially in this venue. If that doesn't look good though, my next plan of attack is I'll probably move in a little bit, but still kind of target the same range.
Which urethane ball did you bring?
I brought a fast pitch, a Storm fast pitch.
And so surface, no, and then one thing to remember, guys, is that this is a regional, not a national stop. So he can throw the older urethane balls.
Correct.
No issue there.
Yeah, the fast pitch actually has a used 500 on it right now. But if I need to, I can always add a little bit fresh teeth, you know, to get it picking up in the right spot.
In practice, not
in
during
practice,
competition.
correct. But if that does not look good, then I will probably end up going to a Reality that actually has 2000. So a stronger, solid cover, bigger weight block.
My goal on the fresh is to keep the ball in front of me, like I said earlier, control. And so I just went with my favorite ball that fits that niche, which for me, the last couple of weeks has been the Magic Gem. And I'm not going to bring anything to a regional that I haven't thrown in a super long time. So I brought the Magic Gem. It has like a 1000 finish on it. And then I did bring a Phase 2. And the Phase 2 is a kind of a unique bowling ball where it can be a really good ball in the fresh, but it can be a really good ball in transition as well. Very, very versatile piece.
Yeah, I mean, kind of listening to your lineup there and stuff like that, you know, with going with symmetrics. Again, having symmetric balls that kind of are more stable and more even, to where asymmetric generally wants to tumble and make a little bit more down lane shape. When we get into our other videos, we'll talk about why asymmetric balls generally kind of do better, and even why potentially balling up is the right answer versus going down, like a lot of people like to chase it left. And then they go into, you know, a vibe and they're like, my ball doesn't make shape. Well,
when you chase it left, there's also more oil.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, so we're all done now on the fresh. Both of us feel pretty confident in saying that we are exiting the fresh and entering transition, right?
Yeah.
I basically only threw one ball, which was that Magic Gem. I thought it looked pretty good once I made that move to the right. Kind of kept it a little bit more in front of me. You did mention that you felt that I was further left than you thought I would be.
Yeah, especially in this house, again, that with it being flatter through that middle part, being left early on is generally not a recipe for success.
Correct. Yeah. So the last shot that you threw was like the tell that, okay, we're starting to enter that transition, because you started with the fast pitch and it looked amazing. Mm-hmm. And you kind of threw the mix of the Reality, a mix of the exponent
and the fast pitch.
And we won't talk about that IQ Nano Pearl. Which we'll show on replay in slow motion here. That was pretty epic. So now that we're going into the transitional phase, and this is more so looking forward to the next video here, what bowling ball, what part of the lane are you looking to help keep the high scores coming?
So now that the lanes are starting to transition a little bit, I might try staying with the fast pitch and just kind of slowing it down a little bit to kind of create a little bit more shape. Again, it's one of those balls that it's very controllable, and it allows me to have a little bit more room for air, per se, than some reactive stuff. But again, if I start moving in and I start going like flat 10 or just can't make the shape, then I'll probably go back into the exponent type aspect.
Yeah, and then for me, I would probably throw at least a few more frames, I think, with the Magic Gem. It is starting to be a little bit forward down lane is what I'm noticing. So for me, like, I'm gonna go to something like the Summit or the Phase 2 in that transitional phase and kind of just stay in the same spot. Transition doesn't necessarily mean move left and hook the whole lane. It could just be ball down, bring your speed down, that kind of thing. So guys, if you enjoyed this kind of video, this educational thing, make sure to let us know in the comments, because it's going to be a big thing for us, so we can continue these educational type videos coming. If you guys want to see Chad and all his bald glory in future videos, let us know in the comments, because if you guys don't want him, we'll kick him out. But if you want him, we'll bring him back. So you're back by popular demand.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you in part 2.